Fire up the cue. Grab a beverage or two and settle in this is the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio 920, the flagship for the Silver and Black. Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, coming to you live from Las Vegas here on a Wednesday, August 12th, 2026, on the eve before the preseason opener. Just hours following the open practice at Allegiant Stadium, where 11,000 members of Raider Nation poured into the home of the Silver and Black to lay witness, get their eyes, feast their eyes on the 2026 version of the Raiders.
They're sexy as hell, and I stand by that.
Welcome in, everybody. Great to have you. 702-365-9200 is the number. If you were at practice last night, if you were one of those 11,000, love to hear from you today. Would love to get your reaction, opinions, takes on what you saw, did not see, liked, did not like. Hell, what it just felt like to be back in the stadium. Because I can tell you, walking back in there, it was a long off season. Clay, I don't know about you. Walking back in that stadium, it felt like we almost never left.
Yeah, getting a chance to see everybody that you normally see, people at the door, people in the elevator. It was like a reunion. And it was like, oh, you catch up a little bit later. But it was good to see. It was almost like the calendar sped, in milliseconds from months into just, minutes. And now you're back in the routine of football again. It was good to feel.
It was a good time. We're going to dive into what we saw. But first things first, we need to check on the third. Vinny Bonsignor. Are we... There was a lot of fights going on in your parts. Are you good? Did you have to mix it up in any which way on your way back to the parking lot or along the sidelines? Are you good?
I'm fine, and I am up in the Santa Clara area where the 49ers hosted the Titans yesterday for practice, and it turned out to be a really kind of a SummerSlam type of a thing. And as I wrote in the California Post, it's 4 fights, all right, not over the course of the entire 2-hour practice. It was 4 fights literally within the first 6 reps between the 49ers defense and the Titans offense. And that set the stage for just a day of fisticuffs. There were more to come. A couple players got kicked out of practice by the San Francisco 49ers because they have a hard rule. You throw a punch, you're out of practice. And to say Kyle Shanahan was pissed would be an understatement. But I want to go back. But I'm fine. I'm completely. It was
okay,
actually
just checking.
Actually entertaining. But I want to go back to what you said. It wasn't just a long off season. It was a very fruitful and eventful offseason for the Raiders, and I'm very glad that 11,000 fans were able to see what we've seen and what we've been writing about, what we've been talking about throughout this offseason, throughout this eventful offseason, and to see how this Raiders team has changed over that quote-unquote long offseason, which, some off seasons feel a little bit longer than others, and this one did feel long, and I think for the reason because so much work got done, Vince, and you can literally see that, on a daily basis during practice, and last night included the work that John Spytek and Tom Brady and Brandon Yergin and Starks and everybody in the Brandon Hunt, everybody in the building, Clint Kubiak did. You're starting to get an eyeball on it now. You're starting to get a visual of it now. And tomorrow is, I guess, what would we call it? The pre-SAT test? Was that what we're going to call that tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, PSAT. Yeah, that works.
Remember, you took
I did that
a couple times.
I don't think I did very well the first one, but I definitely took them.
So did I, and we'll keep those scores under wraps, to be honest.
Thank God I don't remember. I just remember I was like, ooh.
I don't either.
Again?
Yeah, the results were sent to the registrar's office, and that's all we need to know.
I remember getting and I didn't know what the number was, or like how good it was. I just didn't know like what it meant. I go, does this mean I need to do it again? And they're like, yeah, we're probably gonna want to do that one again before the real deal. So yeah, good thing the Raiders have 3 preseason.
I had a buddy. We had a buddy, Scotty Steen, from when we were kids. Scotty Steen was the stud of our neighborhood. Like, he was good in everything. Ended up playing college baseball, minor league baseball, all that. Great football player, such a great kid. But just not very when it came to schoolwork, not very applicable. And so one day the teacher put all of our scores for the semester up on a board, right? And you go up there and you check it, and he's like, "Oh wow, 65," and he's like all happy about it because he just sees a number and he thinks it's a big number. And then we're like, "But that's out of 200, Scotty." What? Yeah, you're at the bottom. Anyway, so you can make any number look big or small, and like DEFCON 1, DEFCON 4.
Oh yeah,
you can reverse all that. But mine were not strong, not the strongest. But who is strong are the Raiders, and I think that tomorrow's going to be really interesting. We had some news, obviously, on how that quarterback carousel is going to be orchestrated or overseen tomorrow, and probably a little bit of a surprise from Clint Kubiak in terms of how that might look tomorrow.
Yeah, so starters definitely going to play throughout the preseason, as he echoed. I think he first said it on Sirius XM radio over the weekend. He reiterated the starters are going to play throughout this preseason, and Fernando is going to get an extended time in terms of to grab and be exposed to that experience. But, it was interesting. I asked him yesterday in the lead up to that open practice, because I was really trying to gauge how he was approaching practice, to be quite frank. I didn't quite feel if he was trying to elevate the practice or if he was trying to make it not as big as it is, because even though it is at Allegiant Stadium. And basically what he talked about is, for the coaches, this was going to be a big logistical evaluation, right? First time a lot of those guys have been in the stadium on that sideline, working together in concert with one another, the communication, what works, what doesn't, the noise, et cetera, et cetera. But for the players, he almost felt like there was going to be a dress rehearsal of sorts, not necessarily for guys to play, but just so that the first time they walk in on Thursday, it wasn't looking around, eyes wide, things of that nature. I asked Malik Benson kind of the same thing, and he goes, look, I'm going to have a wow moment, no doubt, today at practice, but hopefully that eases what it will be on Thursday. Very difficult to sit there and say, a practice at Allegiant Stadium is going to feel the same as a preseason game, especially when you are a rookie in the NFL. But there's a method to the madness. There's a reason they had this open practice just shortly before the final practice, before that preseason game. So feels like the Raiders got good work in. It looked like, from somebody who's been at every single practice, it looked like just another practice. The only difference, it was inside at Allegiant Stadium. And it may not have had the fireworks of the mock game that we saw a year ago or different things like that, but it was what Clint Kubiak has talked about since he arrived. They're going to be about the work. They're going to be about football, and that's what yesterday was. And a couple notes I want to get to, and Clay, I want to get to your notes as well. But, and I'm just going to focus on the team period because, again, the other stuff is just more of the same of what we saw. Kirk Cousins was solid. Very solid, as we've seen. I talked about on his first practice back from that quote-unquote timeout on Monday. Might have been his best practice of training camp. He was Joe Cool last night. Smooth, solid. Every time he threw the Brock Bowers, big crowd pop, and, the chains were moving. Fernando was very crisp the entirety of the 90 minutes-ish. And there's one play in particular that was one of those, okay, he's adding. He's kind of, quote-unquote, letting it rip. And it was about a 15-yard out on the sidelines to Jack Besh. And I think it was like a twofold, okay, not only was the pass just elite, but it's Jack Besh somewhere that wasn't over the middle or blocking.
Yeah.
And I think it, you're like, okay, we're seeing things. The other big note that I have, and again, just it's same story, different day. Malik Benson was an animal last night. His hands are incredible. His speed, his separation is so good. Now, again, what that's going to look like against other jerseys and other teams remains to be seen. But his separation right now is is one of one on the Raiders roster. It is that good. He is making plays left and right. His burst, his acceleration when he catches the ball, it was a thing of beauty, and it got quite a reaction from the Raider Nation.
He doesn't look like a rookie. The way he handles everything, whether it's on special teams or on the field, the way he's able to get separation in the crowd of people is quite admirable. And matching with Mendoza's accuracy, that's also very good. It seems like they have a nice little symbiotic relationship working together. But that Jack Bech play was very good because it was one in which you could see where there was a progression. Mendoza was calculating it and was able to fire off a ball that was a high degree of difficulty in a way, but at the same time, Jack Bech showing you that he's able to go and make a play out of something that that you just didn't able to see last year. You're hoping for it, but it was one in which Jack Bech kind of looked like he matured a little bit, an extra little move, and he looks a little bit bigger than he did last year. So there's some progression there where you see that this receiver core might be better than advertised.
You know what's funny, Vince? You had said that you had talked to Malik about feeling, I guess, a little bit of jitters walking into Allegiant for the first time. And
right.
Sometimes I got, because I asked those same exact questions, so, not talking about that. But then I always remind myself, Malik Benson played at Alabama, Florida State, and Oregon. Like, he's played on big – we forget sometimes, thinking, the NFL, the way college football is now, especially with the playoffs, there are some big darn stages. That's why when we're talking about Fernando and kind of rising to the occasion last night, it's not a surprise at all. He's one of those dudes that when the lights go on, he goes on. He's able to elevate. And we saw that all last year. That was what the beauty of last year was about. And quite frankly, as we move forward through this playoff version of college football, what a great way for us to be able to, scout and assess some of these young players, quarterbacks in particular, but everybody really, who shines in those moments. And we got a good month, a month and a half long look last year at Fernando Mendoza in one big game after another, one big stage after another that grew in stature as the weeks went by, and really honestly culminated with the crescendo that he put on display in that championship game, where it wasn't the best game that he played. It was a great opponent that he was playing against, but he rose to the occasion when the occasion demanded it. And so when we see him go from Henderson, Nevada, and the practice, field out there at 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, to the bright lights of Allegiant Stadium and turn it up a notch, not a big surprise, and I expect that to be a calling card of his throughout the season. But again, yes, you're not human if you don't have that. Man, I'm really here in the NFL right now, walking into Allegiant Stadium. But sometimes we do forget that these guys have been programmed and developed under some of the brightest lights that anybody can imagine.
Well, it goes back to what I was asking Kubiak, and I asked him kind of two different ways. And the second one, he goes, "Look, this is professional football. This is what these guys do. This is what they're about." That being said, if you don't have butterflies for a practice, whether it's at HQ or Allegiant or a game or a preseason game, then and I'm paraphrasing because I'm trying to find the quote. But basically, he said, I look at that. If you're not nervous, that means you don't care as much, right? And he didn't give it a full blanket statement like that's the absolute, but he said, you have to have those feelings because sometimes it means you're not ready if you're not nervous about it.
Could be.
And so he looked at that, and that's what I talk about. Like, that's why the messaging, and I asked what the messaging was, how he wanted his players to treat it. He says, I want them to treat it like it's more than a practice. I want them to treat it like this is a preseason game, because those reps, especially from here on out, are going to start shrinking in a big-time way, especially for those guys at the bottom of the roster, right? So every moment, every rep is massive. And even Malik Benson referenced his time at Alabama, saying, Nick Saban gave me something that I kind of have kept with me, regardless of the game, regardless of the moment, is you have to just take it moment by moment. And the good, you take it. The bad, you take it and you move on. But whether you're, again, at Allegiant Stadium, at Autzen Stadium, whether you're in whoever, you just have to move past it. My biggest point to that was Malik Benson checked another box for me. Like,
oh, yeah.
he's not only popped at training camp, he's not only been consistent at training camp, he's not only moved up the depth chart, but when the lights were literally on last night at Allegiant Stadium, it was as if he was back under the sun. Like the lights didn't do anything. If anything,
he was in his element, right?
He shined even more. Like he looked even more impressive. Maybe it was the vantage point being up in the press box, Clay. But I mean, he just. And maybe it was the addition of the crowd roar every time he kind of made a play and things of that nature. But
he's standing out.
It was very, very, very impressive to watch number 19. And with Fernando, like I said, extremely crisp the entire day. During team period, there were 2 plays he would have been sacked. But I look at that as the right tackle. Now, typically, when the 2s are out there with Fernando Mendoza, the right tackle has been Trezun III. Mm-hmm. But last night, Trezun III was working at center with the second team. Jordan Meredith kicked over to left guard. Caleb Rogers was at right guard, and at right tackle was Dalton Wagner. Now, those 2 sacks that Fernando would have been sacked came, unfortunately, because of the right tackle of Wagner. So that is what it is. The only really missed throw that I remember Fernando was the interception by Cody Lindenberg, but it was off the hands of the receiver and into the arms of Cody Lindenberg over the middle of the field. Max, no doubt, got the greatest pop inside Allegiant, but Fernando was it was right there.
Yes,
it was right there. So, like I said, a really good, tidy piece of work for the Raiders. Feels like they got a lot accomplished. I know talking with some people upstairs, they felt really good with the operation of not just practice, but what that means ahead of Thursday, because, again, Thursday becomes where more kinks get worked out for the coaching staff as well as for the team. But it was a good time had by all. Raider Nation really did show up in a good way, in a fun way, and hopefully it was a good time for them.
Yeah, and, continued development of Trezun as the super sub, that feels like what he's being groomed for this year. He's going to be a starter down the road. Let that all play out. But for this year, we've seen him at guard. We've seen him at tackle. We've seen him at center now last night. So it's pretty obvious that the Raiders are kind of designating him as, hey, if somebody goes down, pack all your gloves. Get your first baseman's mitt, your outfielder. We might even play at catcher if need be. So be ready at a moment's notice, and we're going to make sure you're ready by giving you reps at all these different positions. So some fans have asked me, hey, do they just not know what position he's going to play? No, it's not that at all. I don't know that they know exactly what position he's going to ultimately play. But for this year, they feel like he's got so much versatility that he can be trained to be that super sub during the regular season if somebody were to go down wherever it might be on the offensive line. Trezun is going to probably get a call.
And to watch a little bit of McCoy out there as well. He was playing a lot with the 2s, but you could see every now and then he would be lined up against somebody like Malik Benson, and that was a very daunting little one-on-one matchup you could see every now and then. But McCoy definitely looks like a guy that's also as advertised. Very comfortable out there, very, very strong, very fleet of foot, somebody that doesn't seem to be hampered by any sort of previous injury. That was kind of good to see. But just one little observation on Mendoza. Anytime he was doing anything, whether it was his face was on the Jumbotron or he was working in offense, the crowd was into it. You could see that the majority of the eyes were all watching number 15. And that was good to see because it showed you that there was a real love and passion and interest to see where is he and how is he progressing.
What was also great to see is, and again, this has nothing to do with football, but at the same time it kind of does in terms of what Fernando Mendoza not only is, but he represents as well. He was one of the last guys off the field signing autographs, to the point where they had to sound the air horn a couple times to get the players off the field. Right,
the bus is getting ready to leave, you guys. Let's go.
Yeah, and he really, it's one of those things, you hear it all the time, like this is the stuff you got to do. You got, if you're going to be in that position. But at the same time, it doesn't always happen. Like that person doesn't always do it. He did it. Like he was one of the last guys doing that. And so, again, I say that's not necessarily football related, but in terms of being the face of the franchise, in terms of carrying, this organization into the future, the kid understands the assignment. is what I mean. And the kid is understanding the assignment. It is by no means been a perfect, unblemished training camp or things of that nature. There's been ups and downs. There's been good days. There's been bad days, great throws, bad throws, things of that nature. But he seems to be doing what he needs to do, running his race, as we have talked about many times. He feels like he is gaining momentum to where he needs to be, which I think is obviously a good sign for the Raiders. Ashton Genty ripped off what we believe would have been a touchdown. I know the defensive guys would have something to say about that, Clay, but am I alone in that? Feels like that would have been a long touchdown for Deuce.
There was certainly a lot of defensive guys after him. When he popped out, he was off to the races. That looked very legit.
There was a lot of Vinny. There was a lot of running, getting close, and then kind of pulling up, so to speak. Not to make it. I don't. The defenders weren't.
Was it the strongest pursuit?
Yeah, was it? And then the other big touchdown actually came from AOC.
Yeah.
Aiden O'Connell with an absolute beauty of a ball, dropping it in the bucket to Brandon Johnson on a double move down the sidelines. There it is.
It looked good.
It was a great throw.
Great ball placement.
Might have been the highlight in terms of actual gameplay, but for me, Fernando Mendoza was as crisp as you could really be. And he hooked up with Malik Benson probably 5 times. But the throw to Jack Besh, 15 yards and out down the sideline, only place he could have put it, right where it needed to be. Great hands from Besh, great route from Besh. I would say the offense probably won the evening if I had to pick a winner, just based on the movement and what they were able to accomplish. But again, good work had by all. 702-365-9200. If you were at Allegiant Stadium, if you were one of the 11,000, we want to hear from you. We want to get your thoughts, your takes, your opinions on what you saw, what you heard, what you read. 702-365-9200. And what are your questions? What do you think is going to happen ahead of preseason game number 1 tomorrow night against the Arizona Cardinals? We're going to take your calls. We're going to get to some of your texts. We got once a Raider, always a Raider, back with us here to kick off hour number 2. Grant Irons will be joining us at the top of the 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific time hour. Adam Hill, the Las Vegas Review-Journal. He's got some thoughts on one Fernando Mendoza and the battle with Kirk Cousins for QB1. And then Marcus Johnson, who just left Las Vegas, was with us here at training camp. He'll be joining us, Tape Don't Lie, in top of hour number 3 at 9 a.m. Until then, we are taking your call, 702-365-9200. But first,
I'm predicting a very interesting take from Marcus on that Fernando Mendoza, Kirk Cousins quarterback battle. So be ready for that one. Hey, guys, are you craving real Mexican food that's been doing it right for generations? Then it's time for Sal's Mexican Restaurant, a Central Valley tradition since 1942. We're talking about the kind of food that keeps people coming back. Stacked burritos, sizzling fajitas, legendary enchiladas, and those award-winning tamales that everybody's talking about. And here's the best part. Whether you're in Selma, Madera, or Fresno, Sal's has a location ready for you. Plus, Raider Nation, here's the deal. Sal's is all about the silver and black. So whether it's game day, and those are coming pretty fast, including tomorrow, by the way, a fight night, whatever the event might be, this is your spot. Can't make it in? No problem. You can get Sal's delivered straight to your door wherever you are. Just go to salsmexicanrestaurant.com and place your order right now. They'll deliver it to you wherever you are. Don't wait. Don't settle. Sal's Mexican Restaurant. Tradition, flavor, and Raider pride served up fresh every single day.
Show at 702-365-9200. Now, back to the morning tailgate.
Not a lot of number 1 overall picks walk into a team that have some of the top position players in the league already established in the offense.
Yeah, to come into an offense with so many great young players, with Ashton, Brock, we have so many young receivers and also other tight ends and running backs and offensive linemen. It's very invigorating and inspiring as a quarterback because you're coming in with a group that has, in sense, a ton of potential because we're all young. We all grow to work and learn each other and how we can make the Raiders the best offense that we can possibly be. But at the same time, it's just potential, and potential at this point needs to be complemented with improvement and deeds and actual work and facts that we're improving on the field.
Fernando Mendoza with Amber Theo Harris on Sirius XM NFL Radio. That's the thing I keep going back to. I know we've had this discussion about Fernando and the roster construction, if you will. In a perfect world, it's quarterback building out, right? And that's why, the draft of Ashton Genty last year looks even better than it did at the time when he was drafted.
Yeah,
right? When he was also at his highest value, perceived value as well. It feels even bigger now because Fernando's in the fold. And to that extent, similar feelings with the Brock Bowers. Even though Brock Bowers is already one of one in the NFL, I guess some people will sit there and say maybe he's top 2 with Trey McBride, but if he's top 2, he's not 2 for me. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm saying is there are pieces around him. This cupboard is not bare, which is why it goes back to the interesting dynamic of when does Fernando start, because seemingly there are pieces. It's not like he has to do everything by himself, caveat being, can the Raiders do what Clint Kubiak believes he can do and has done, which is run the ball, which is protect him from himself in that ilk, so to speak. Not that Fernando would put himself in danger, but just that he's not having to drop back 50 times a game.
He's also got a Pro Bowl level left tackle, a Pro Bowl center, one of the best centers in the game, a highly respected coaching staff, offensive coaching staff, if we're talking just about that side of the ball, without a doubt, that just won a Super Bowl and in very similar fashion came into Seattle together as a coaching staff and turned the worst offensive line in the NFL into a top 15 unit and kind of part of the engine that helped the Seahawks win the Super Bowl. So we laughed at the time, not laughed at the time necessarily laugh. I guess not laughing isn't the right word. But I had so many, people, whether they were callers on our show or hitting me up on social media about, drafting a running back or drafting a tight end. And my response was, A, when you have a chance to draft difference-making talent, you take that opportunity. Secondly, my counter argument was always this, Vince. Are they canceling the next draft or something? Are they never going to be able to draft again? Is that what you're telling me? Like you drafted a running back here when you needed this. Well, okay. If you drafted that, you would need the running back at some point too. So unless they stop doing drafts, I'm not worried about the order. Just keep bringing in as many high-level, talented football players as you possibly can, whenever you can, at whatever stage of the draft that you can, because guess what, you guys? Talent wins, and you're right. Because of that drafting, because of going against the grain, if you want to call it that, the team that Fernando Mendoza walks into has two of, and I'm just going to say it, the best offensive weapons in the NFL. We're going to see that with Ashton Genty this year. With that improved offensive line, he's going to be a handful for teams. We already know that about Brock Bowers. He just needs to stay healthy. That's it. And he's somebody that will keep defensive coordinators and secondary linebackers, anyone that's in the unenviable position of having to try to stop him. They're going to have some sleepless nights getting ready for Mr. Bowers. So yeah, I'm with you. It might have looked however you want to describe it at the time when you're drafting a tight end and a running back that high, but I don't care. Again, unless you're going to tell me that you're going to cancel all remaining drafts and you're never going to be able to sign or bring in any other players at any other position, that's when I'll worry about that.
No, it's very much like we see examples around the league. For the Titans, they have to go draft Cam Ward, and then they wait for other drafts to go and build with other franchise-changing running back, wide receiver, or tight end. A very unique situation for the Raiders. They don't have that. They have those pieces already there. They don't need to wait.
Yeah, it feels like
was not impressed, by the way, with Cam Ward. I'm telling you right now, Fernando Mendoza is ahead of Cam Ward. I watched them all practice yesterday, and I'm like, oh, boy. So And I had just come off seeing Fernando.
Right.
So, and granted, the 49ers have a good defense. There's no question about that. But what I saw of Cam Ward yesterday, and I'm hoping for him that it was just a bad day and he's going to be fine. But I don't know. I have some questions about that, and especially after seeing Fernando, I'm like, I think the guy in silver and black is a better prospect. Period.
Well, I mean, that's music to Raider Nation's ears. And, not to get into Titans camp, but, again, for all the reasons that we just brought up, Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, Colton Miller, Tyler Linderbaum, that's what's surrounding, at minimum, a Fernando Mendoza right now. I mean, you look at Tennessee, and I know they just drafted Carnell Tate, but Tony Pollard, Wan'Dale Robinson, does not have the same feel, does not have the same cachet, if you will, as what Fernando has going with you, let alone, and just that's putting talent aside. I'm just talking about weaponry around, being put in a position to succeed. And again, the other thing that was interesting last night is all of that flashed. Brock flashed. Ashton flashed. We can continue to talk about how this wide receiver room is thin, but Malik Benson flashed. Jack Besh had a really nice night last night. Right, there's reasons for the optimism, and I think that's understood. But the biggest part is, and up on the text line, who is this? Michael says, "Look like a legit practice. Fernando looks like he wants the job, moving with urgency and slinging it." And that really is the way I would describe Fernando last night. He was slinging it. He was moving. There was a lot of urgency in number 15's game, and I'm curious how much was that the elevated venue of just being inside Allegiant Stadium. It looked a little bit more sped up. I'll put it that way with Fernando Mendoza, which I think was a good thing. 702-365-9200. Let's get out to the phones, shall we? Raider Mark in Henderson. Good morning. Welcome to the tailgate.
Hey, good morning, fellas.
What's
Vinny,
up?
Vince, my brother Clay. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, Raider Mark's in the fold.
Hey, I'm glad you guys touched on that. I want to touch on Mendoza real quick and get you guys' thoughts on that. If he comes out this preseason and does what Dak did his rookie season, he's got to start. He's got to start for the Raiders week 1 because I think preseason is going to really be a telltale for him to go out there and show his talents. We got a young group, along with the receiving core, offensive line, and everything, and we got some new guys on there. But I really think if he really flashes, it has a better preseason than Kurt. I know Kurt is, good with the ones right now, but Clint hasn't named the starter, which is fantastic because Clint is able to get his quarterbacks in the right position. What he did with Sam Darnold in the past, and he has the pedigree. So I think if he comes out and plays like Dak did his rookie season, he's got to start week 1, guys. He does. And he's not going to get runs. He's not going to get all. If he makes mistakes, he makes mistakes. But you got to roll with him, this season. I really believe that because Kurt, he's not going to last the season, guys. He's not last the season. He might last 8, 9, 10 games, the most. But if he outplays Kurt, we got to start him. Just want to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Raider Mark, real quick.
I'll see you guys during the season. Though.
Real quick,
wait.
Were we able to make it to Allegiant last night?
No. I told Clay I wouldn't be able to make it last night, but you'll see me during the regular season. I'll be at some games and stuff. But I can't wait to meet you, Vince. I haven't met you yet. I know Vinny and Clay real well, so I definitely would definitely see you guys this year.
You're going to love Vince.
Where you guys are at.
All right, we'll let you know, Mark. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Raider Mark. Appreciate the call. So a couple things. I a starter has not been named for week 1 of the NFL season for the Raiders. So to his point, if he balls out in the preseason, there's no reason as to say why he couldn't. Now he's going to have to really show command, right? It's as much about making the throws as it is understanding where to go, having command, making sure you protect yourself, protect your teammates, get the offense into the right situations, into the right plays, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to have that opportunity. If he goes out, Vinny, and balls out tomorrow night against Arizona, right? That's going to afford him another opportunity for Clint Kubiak and his staff to be like, okay, maybe we need to get him with the ones in another preseason game, that Houston game, right, on the road, and see how he does. And if he can continue to elevate, there's no reason why you can say no to him. But I still believe Kirk Cousins, for now, is in that driver's seat until, he is removed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I've maintained all along. I do think Kirk's likely to start the season, but it's not been completely ruled out. Like they haven't. And I asked Clint that a couple of days ago, last week, Saturday, I guess it was, or whatever, Friday, Saturday. Hey, are you open to the idea of Fernando Mendoza, winning the job, or are you just kind of predetermined that this is how it's going to be? And he flat out said, and John Spytek echoed this: "No, I'm not married to anything. Every position is open for the taking, basically, and quarterback is for sure." Have you guys heard this Laker news, by the way?
Yeah, that's a big number.
Well, it's not even a big. A couple of things. Yes, it's a huge number.
They've been purchased.
They've been, but I mean, like they were just sold to the family that owns or the group that owns the Dodgers like months ago, and now they're being sold to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. And if those two names ring a bell, obviously Bob is the head of ABC, Disney, and all that. But they were in the running for to buy or own or be the owner of the Las Vegas NBA team. So they're out of that picture, which, props up some other groups that are now in the running, I should say, for the Las Vegas franchise. So what a game changer. It's kind of just a little bit of a bomb that just hit right there.
Yeah, we'll touch
crazy.
on that in a bit. Let's get back
to
the phones
I just saw it. So I just saw it. So it was like, holy cow.
702-365-9200. Charles in Oregon, but in Las Vegas. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, Charles. Good, thanks.
Hey, so I just got to share. Last night's experience was absolutely amazing. Got to sit on the 50, got to meet Tim Brown, met Ashton Genty, Lincoln Kennedy. It was just amazing. The experience was well done by the Raiders organization, I thought. They handled everything pretty darn well. The one thing that really stood out to me was, number one, Fernando, I agree with Vinny. He looked sharp, really good. The offense, there were some things that I'm very concerned about, though. Seeing it in person and, practice, it can be different every time. But I'm telling you, man, it's not just that it's Max Crosby. Something about the right side of that offensive line looks really concerning for the first team. I don't want to pin everything on DJ Glaze, but it did not look good. My wife was pointing out Max Crosby is just destroying the right side of that line. There would have been multiple sacks. And sorry, but it kind of reminded me of training camp last year where they were just getting a lot of penetration. So I hope something changes there. Overall, a great experience. My wife is beautiful, so she smiled at one of the players and got an autographed T-shirt he threw to her. I don't mind that. I was. She said I just did the smile and the wink, and he threw me a shirt. So whatever, I don't care.
There you go.
Yeah, but it was just overall just a great experience. Curious to see what you guys think, what you've seen with that right side of the offensive first team line. It's concerning to me. But overall, the speed, Jermod McCoy, some of the players out there, oh my gosh. And number 19, Malik Benson, his lateral quickness is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. A lot of the fans in the stands, they need to get over Kirk Cousins being the starter. He's going to be the starter. There's a lot of support for AOC and for Fernando, but hey, come on, man. You got to understand how it's going to roll. Kubiak knows what he's doing, so trust him. All right, thanks for taking my call. God bless, guys.
Charles, appreciate you. Thanks so much. And I think you answered the question as to the problems on the right side. Max Crosby was on the other side.
And no pads yesterday too. I saw enough for me anyway. When the pads were on those couple days in Vegas, the right side was playing a lot better in that setting. Vince, I think you would. I'm not going to put in
again. You have to also take in the context of who is going on the other side. Like you just have to. And And if the argument is, hey, every Sunday you're going to get an elite pass rusher, well, I would make the argument that Max Crosby is a top 3 pass rusher. So unless you're facing a top 3 pass rusher every single week, which you are not, then yeah, you got a problem. But you're not playing a Max Crosby every week. And if this is helping DJ Glaze, man, I don't look like it, but he is learning from it. So until I just see him become a turnstile in the regular season, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic from what I've seen over the majority of training camp, and that's been solid play out of DJ Glaze, number 71. 702-365-9200. We got to get to our Summer of Fun giveaway brought to you by Terribles and your friends here at Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. We're going to Hawaii, Clay. We are going. Oh, you didn't like my rendition, so you had to get the ukulele out.
I wanted the imagery.
All right.
I want to see the beach, the palm trees, the surf.
Air for, paid for, out of L.A., 4-night stay in Hawaii could be yours. Text in the keyword of the day, which is on a Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. Cabin. Cabin. C-A-B-I-N. I don't know if there's any cabins on the islands, but that is the word of the day. Text it in, 702-365-9200, and you are entered for a chance to win a trip to Hawaii. The Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Raider Nation Radio 920. Clay, we've already got some Weisenheimers up on the text line.
Yeah, there's always one.
The text word is cabin for a trip to Hawaii. But Raphael decided to put cannon. That does not enter you for a chance to win.
The other day, the word was swim. And somebody immediately put in Swin. That's not even a word. It is somebody's first name, but that's not going to get you the cash.
You are
a
Weisenheimer. You are a Weisenheimer. A lot of money being thrown around today. According to Sportico, the Raiders are the 9th most valuable NFL franchise at $10.1 billion.
Wow.
Up 28% year over year.
That's
so from
amazing.
2025 or whatever the stop point was, but year over year up 28%. Dallas Cowboys number 1 at 15, but the Raiders were the 3rd most profitable team in the National Football League in 2025.
Oh, really?
So, Vinny, to take your phrasing of what Allegiant Stadium is, a giant ATM, it is bearing out that way again, according to this data and information from Sportico, which again brings us to the news of the LA Lakers. I believe it was 14 months ago, Mark Walter acquired the LA Lakers, the controlling interest. He has now sold that. So in a cool 14 months, he has made $2 billion in profit over the course of 14 months, selling his controlling interest to the aforementioned Bob Iger for $12 billion.
Whoa.
Somebody that is in that world texted me and said he feels like a flip tax provision might be coming because that's what he just did. And I don't know, I'd have to look into it a little bit deeper. But there was something that caught my attention. Wasn't the Guggenheim Group and Walters, weren't they being looked at for something? I'd have to take a look at what exactly it was. So there was something that they got into somebody's crosshairs. So just wonder that there has to be something behind this. You don't buy a team like the Lakers and within almost just over a year later sell them. That's something's
wild.
Not right.
That's wild.
And again, it takes a big player out of the Las Vegas game because Kushner and Bob were looking to buy be the owners of that team. So a lot of big ripple effect to this.
LeBron, the floor is yours here in Las Vegas. 702-365-9200. Once a Raider, always a Raider. Grant Irons joins us next here on the Tailgate. It's a Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker coming to you live from Las Vegas here on a Wednesday, August 12th, 2026, on the eve of the preseason opener for the Silver and Black. The season is upon us. But it's a Wednesday. Hour number 2 on a Wednesday, which means it is time for Once a Raider, Always a Raider. And in our second edition, of this season, once a Raider, always a Raider, we have to bring in 5-year NFL vet, legacy Raider, friend, not only to us, but this guy is everywhere. When the alumni department calls, says, hey, we got an event, this man is the first one whose hand is up, and he's on a plane heading wherever he needs to go. He's the one, the only, Grant Irons. Grant, what's going on, my friend? How are we?
Man, I love it, man. It's so great to be here with you, with Vinny, Clay. I mean, Raider Nation Radio, the best radio to be here. Love it.
You're the best.
Oh, you're the best.
It's always great to hear from you. One of the most intimidating like if you look at your pro football picture, very intimidating.
Yes.
Maybe the nicest guy in the history of humanity. It is quite the paradox we have here. Grant, again, thanks so much for doing this. All right, I want to jump into kind of where we're at. The eve of the preseason, and I've talked to you many times, and you've talked about how preseason was super important for you as you were battling and grinding and all those different things. What are the feelings that the Raiders rookies, first-year players, second-year players, roster bubble type players, what are those feelings on a day like today where they're off, no practice on the field today, in meetings, understanding the importance of the reps and the play and the preseason?
Man, there's so many feelings. I mean, you think about excitement, you think about nervousness, you think about, hey, am I prepared? Have I study, put in the time and effort? Now, I mean, all season they bonded together as a team. But now it's time to put up or shut up. And now it's time to show what you're really truly made of when you're making plays in the games. So, right now, I think for all the players right now, that is really over this excitement, but you want to prove you are who you say you are.
How sick are guys at this moment of practicing against each other now for the last 2.5 weeks or so and itching to go out there and slam into somebody that's wearing a different uniform?
Oh, it's one of the best feelings. I mean, it's one you could take all everything that's been built up. Now you can actually go and a whole different team and just unleash it. And so, and to do it as a team, do it offense, defense. I mean, you just the adrenaline rush when you're running up that tunnel, representing the silver and black. I mean, there's no better feeling.
What was it like, though, then, for you to come out of camp, come out of preseason, then get ready for your first regular season game with somebody like Greg Williams at the hold, who's obviously a very patient individual? What was it like for you, though, and what do you remember of that lead up to that first game?
Man, I just remember, honestly, like going into that game, I remember, you understand, when I was playing with the Raiders, I mean, I had so many legends that were already on the team. You had Tim Brown, you had Jerry Rice, you had Charles Woodson. I mean, those are guys that were in my ear, giving me motivation. Yeah. And then you had the coaches that, you understand, like you said, Vinny, my dad, it was a legacy Raider. He was a Raider before. So a lot of his teammates, like Art Shell and, Belenikoff, they were my coaches when I played. And so they were giving me, words of wisdom and, hey, you got this. Go out there and play your game. And so, I had so much motivation going into the game. And then you see Al Davis, giving you that look like, yeah, it's time to go. Like, I was so motivated, so pumped just to go out there and execute and play with my teammates.
Former Raider Grant Irons joining us here. Once a Raider, always a Raider on the morning tailgate here on Raider Nation Radio 920. Looking at this team, and we've said it for, unfortunately, too many off seasons, right? Where, hey, it feels different. New coaching staff, new name, it feels different. And, on this particular platform, and I'll speak for the three of us, we've said it again this offseason. It feels different. I was at the open practice. Clay, you were there as well. Vinny was with us at training camp this past week, and it does feel different. I guess my question to you is, as somebody who's been between those white lines and understands the good, the bad, who is good, players understand who is not, who is him, as they say.
Yep.
How do you know? How do you know from a team aspect? And right. is there a secret sauce that us on the outside simply don't know?
You know what? That's such a great question because you really don't know until the bright lights are on, until you're under that pressure, under that microscope of making plays, fighting through blockers, fighting through all the adversity. Hey, you got to be able to, depend on your teammates. You got to be able to depend on your brother. And it's like in those moments, those crucial moments when, the game is on the line, it's 4th and 1, or it's 2 touchdowns, you got to, make a turnover or make something good happen. That's when you really know. It's like, hey, I can really depend on my brother. I can really depend on my teammate to make something good happen and make this, a winning season.
Yeah, and when you think about Fernando Mendoza and that young quarterback, I'd be curious, honestly, from your perspective as somebody that's been there, done that, what are you looking for? Like, what is Fernando Mendoza? Is there something that a young quarterback can say, can do, can be about that says to you, Grant, hey, this dude's ready to go. I'm ready to go into a huddle with him. I'm ready to go into a foxhole with him. This is the guy that I believe can lead us.
I mean, I think for Fernando, it's about, he's showing his maturity. He's taking all the right steps. He's showing, he's disciplined. He has that work ethic. And I think for him now is taking that next step, is in the game, showing that same discipline and showing that same work ethic that he has shown so far, right? Now we want to see that in the game. We want to see him elevate. It's almost like a rising tide lifts all boats. We want to see him making the other teammates better as he's playing, right? Making sure everybody's lined up, making sure, really making plays, right? That's it. It's interesting. My nephew, he was actually at Indiana. He was on the coaching staff at Indiana University, part of the national championship this past year with Fernando, and he spoke highly. He was like, man, y'all, the Raiders have a great one, with Fernando, just how he is. And also he talked about Mike Washington Jr., he's a great one. So, I mean, for us, I just think the sky's the limit. Putting all the pieces in place and just put it together.
Well, that's interesting you say that because I was thinking of as Mendoza's advancement in his first year, could it be because he already has weapons around him like Genty and Bowers?
Yes. It's just taking full advantage. I mean, we have the best tight end duo in the league, in my opinion. And I just think, Brock Bowers, I mean, just seeing what he has done and what he's going to do along with Mayer, it's going to be amazing. I think now offense, defense, shout out to Spytek, shout out to Kubiak, and Mark putting the right pieces in place in the offseason. It's going to be exciting. I think this year is going to be totally different than all the years previously because I just think there's the right pieces and the mindset is right going into this year.
Grant, as a former D lineman, D end, what makes the wide zone running blocking scheme that Rick Dennison, Clint Kubiak are employing with the Raiders and have been so successful with over the decades with the Kubiaks? From your perspective, trying to stop it, what makes that so successful? And when you look at some of the better ones, what's the secret sauce that makes that so special?
That's a great question. I think you got to have your offensive line has to be on the same page. Everybody, it has to be working in unison. And I think, too, from a defense perspective, it's tough because every defensive player has to have their assignment. It has to have – everybody has their gaps, and they have to have their gap control. Is that you got to – there's no – one player out of place will throw it out. In the NFL, all you need is one opening, one little slit that you can get through. And the game, it could be a touchdown right then. So it's tough. Everybody has to be disciplined in their assignment and be able to execute at a high level.
I'm going to take you to your neck of the woods, and that's the defensive line. And there's a second-year player by the name of Tonka Hemingway who's having a stellar camp, which follows really a stellar offseason for him and a stellar end of his rookie season as well. What kind of growth can we expect, and what kind of growth, you went through this going from year one to year two, in terms of not necessarily getting it. I don't know if you ever get it in the NFL, but just making that big stride from year one to year two.
Man, I think there's so much, they always say that the biggest gaps or the biggest, the improvement is from year one to year two. I think really it's just, being able to take it to a whole nother level. In this game, you either get better or you get worse, right? And that's on a daily basis, but it's also on a yearly basis. So we want to every year, man. He's got to be able to show, hey, he's so much better than he was last year. So it's almost like you think about, like, I do a lot of motivational speaking, and I talk about like RFP, relentless forward progress. You got to be relentless, and you constantly got to be moving forward, and eventually you will have progress.
Well, it makes me wonder, like, how did certain groups and guys really ascend, especially on the defensive line, to become sack leaders? And you were on a team where Derek Burgess, just exploded one year. He had 16 sacks to lead the league. What do you remember from those years where he was able to just get off and actually go just be a force that couldn't be stopped?
Man, you know what it was is like, and I got so much respect for him and so many of my teammates, is that he was so locked in, he was so focused. Nothing threw him off. Like when he came to when it came down to the time to play and and put game time, like he was locked in. Yeah. It was no stopping him. So it was almost like he knew that he wanted to execute at a high level, and he had a game plan. But it's one thing to have a game plan, but it's another thing to execute it. And that's one thing that just watching him and he always executed his game plan each and every week.
It's Grant Irons here, once a Raider, always a Raider. Grant, we've asked you this before over the years, but it never gets old. I've asked you, what were the moments when you first became a Raider that kind of stick out to you? I'm going to ask you in a different way. Yeah. During your playing times, because we've always talked about training camp and when you first got to the Silver and Black, but when you were playing, what is your most memorable time as a Raider in the thralls, in the thick of it, between the lines? Yeah,
man, there's so many moments, and I think each and every, I think it was the little things, like I mentioned before, like you're going in the games and just even going, running out the tunnel, feeling that adrenaline, just feeling the Raider Nation and the black hole, and just. It's like, man, this is bigger than just this game. This is a lifestyle. This is a way of life. With the fans, you feed off the fans. Like our team, the team, we feed off Raider Nation. We feed off of it. And so I think I've always grown up. My dad would always tell my brothers and I about Raider Nation and what it meant to be a Raider. And it was just like to actually represent that and to actually put that silver and black on. It meant everything. And it was just like. And I just go back to it was really the players and the people that make up the Raiders made it so special. And it's like you want to play for each other. You want to go out there and play at a high level.
What are you expecting to see from the Raiders tomorrow when they line it up for the first time against the Arizona Cardinals in preseason game number 1?
I want to see it. I want to see execution, but I want to see it at a high level. I want to see an energy that it shows that this is a new team. Clint Kubiak, man, he's a genius. I mean, he's everything that he's done, it turns to gold. So, I mean, it's really just executing his game plan, offense, defense, special teams, put it all together. Like, at the end of the day, I talk about Notre Dame, and Notre Dame talks about, they're saying, leave no doubt. This year, we want the Raiders to leave no doubt. When every game, it has to have mentality to leave no doubt, that makes sure, hey, we're a whole new team and we're a team, that you got to come and bring your A game, because if you don't, you're gonna get embarrassed.
Well, that makes me wonder about certain guys like even Rob Leonard, who now ascended to defensive coordinator, and how he wants to put his own identity on this defense and leave no doubt. What do you think about his ability to go and do that? Because I think it's possible.
Oh, without a doubt. I love his mentality. He's tough. He's got that grit. I mean, I'm a fan of his. So I think when you have Max, anytime you have Max Crosby and you add in the new pieces, in this year, I mean, man, now Max has help. And now he has other players that can play at a high level, and they can play off each other and execute at a high level. So I'm excited to see what they do.
It's Grant Irons with us here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Once a Raider, always a Raider. Grant, I know you're back home in Texas right now, but we'll be seeing you here in a couple weeks for Alumni Weekend against the 49ers. I know it's always a special time for not only you but the rest of the former greats.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you're here, once a Raider, always a Raider. I imagine this time of year kind of sparks that a little bit more.
Oh, so excited! Shout out to the Raider alumni, department, with Callie, Lindsay, Katie and Allie. I mean, they do such an amazing job of welcoming the former players, making us feel like they say, once a Raider, always a Raider. I mean, they lead with their hearts and they design and create with their minds. And I think, as former players, all we want to do is be a part of this family, right? All we want to do is feel welcome. And they do a great job of that. So shout out to them. Shout out to Mark Davis and Sandra Douglas Morgan for just leading the charge of putting the former players, making us a priority. And we truly appreciate that.
And shout out to you. And this is for all of Raider Nation. There's no exaggeration when I say when the alumni department calls looking for guys to step up at an event, whether it's military, whether it's veterans, whether it's this Grant Irons is the first with his hand up, and he is leading the charge, and he is the first one shaking the hands, saying hi, how are you? I've seen it firsthand many times. Grant, you are one of one. We appreciate you. Can't wait to see you when the Raiders take on the Niners, and Grant will be here week 1 when the Raiders play host to the Miami Dolphins. Looking forward to it, my friend.
Hey, Vince, I appreciate you. Appreciate Vinny. Raider Nation Radio, the best radio. Let's go.
Grant Irons, once a Raider, always a Raider. We appreciate you.
Add to that.
We'll chat soon, my friend. Be well.
Absolutely.
Enjoy your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That
All
is
right,
Grant
Clay.
Irons.
Take care.
Awesome. You talk about a guy who just never has a bad day. I'm sure they exist, but you never hear it. No matter the day. Grant Irons, one of one. Really appreciate him. and gives you incredible perspective, of what it means to be a Raider. We talk about it all the time. It's different here, this organization. He's a perfect ambassador to that and alumni, legacy Raider. Awesome stuff, as always. And I thought it was really interesting what he had to say about Tonka Hemingway. I mean, the jump is real. Like, Tonka is the first name out of every guy's mouth this training camp, right? Every guy we've talked to, who's really stood out to you? Number 97. Guy won the weight room award this offseason on the defensive side of the ball. Guy who just carved out a starter spot for himself. Now, very excited to see what that looks like and as it translates and transitions into the regular season.
Yeah, I love that he snuck in a little Notre Dame,
I'm a little surprised
there,
you didn't go hard on the Golden Domers.
I'm just going to let that one play. I'm just going to let that. When you start, okay, what's that term? Fake it till you make it, right? And I think a lot of Golden Domers have probably been guilty of that over the years. This is one of those years where, if you know, you know. This is real this time, and I will have to add this. Talking to scouts that are all over the country right now, this is really going to be a fun college football season. There's some real good teams and some excellent quarterbacks. I was talking to somebody that was at somebody's camp yesterday, raving about the quarterback that he was watching. So it's going to be a fun season. So I can't sit here and say Notre Dame's going to win the national championship only because Texas is really good. Ohio State's good. Indiana's going to be good again. Miami's going to be loaded. There's a whole bunch. There's a good 10 teams. Clay, when was the last time you could really think about a college football season where you can legitimately make the claim that there's a good 10 teams that have a real shot at winning the championship?
Yeah, and I think at least another 10 that are going to be competing for spots. It might be surprising. So there's like 10 to 15 teams kind of in the mix that have everything in front of them. It's very exciting to see how this is all going to work out. And the first month is going to tell a lot of stories.
Clay, weren't you worried?
It will.
Weren't you worried
But
between Grant and Vinny that they were just going to hijack the segment? It was just going to be all Notre Dame. I was worried. I got a little, especially when Grant goes, I talk a lot about Notre Dame. I go, there it goes.
Well, it was weird when Grant says win one for the Gipper. I knew something was going to be up.
Vinny, I'm proud of your restraint, though. I'm proud of your restraint.
Well, I feel like this. There's going to be a lot to talk about with Notre Dame this year. So why waste it right now? Let's just wait till they open up at Lambeau Field against
Wisconsin,
which is it's
great?
Their home game. It's Notre Dame's home game, right in the thick of Wisconsin, Wisconsin land. I mean, Lambeau Field, that's sacred ground right there. So that'll be on a Sunday night.
Sure, in week 4, is at North Carolina against Belichick. That will be that'll draw some eyes.
Oh,
the big game.
Belichick's
I'm already setting up. I think it's November 8th is when the Raiders play the 49ers, right? I believe that's the date. I want to say yes.
It's right there. Yeah.
The day before, you got Notre Dame, Miami. There's another great game November 7th. So I am just going to be holed up in my hotel room watching some great college football, including we got some revenge for Miami this year. There's no doubt about that. So we'll see how that all plays out. But that's a story for another day because really, I mean, I'm so pumped up. I'm going to watch I'll have my eye on the 49 or the Raiders game. For sure, but also covering the 49ers Titans game. By the way, I saw Dave Ziegler yesterday. He is the assistant general manager of the Titans. We had a nice little chat and before his Titans took the field against the 49ers. So he's doing well there in Tennessee and trying to get that thing on the right path. It looks like it's got a ways to go though.
702-365-9200 is the number. We'll continue to get your thoughts on what you saw at practice yesterday. If you were there, we want to hear from you. Calls, texts, light them up. But coming up next, Adam Hill with the Las Vegas Review Journal. But first,
hey guys, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your weight, when it comes to feeling better, and you kind of intuitively know, I'm really not where I need to be right now, but gosh darn it, I got to get on that, and I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to take care of that tomorrow. Well, guess what? Sometimes tomorrows don't come, and you just keep putting it off, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And here's the thing. If you're tired of feeling sluggish, frustrated with your weight, dealing with daily aches and pains, or just not feeling like yourself, it's time to take control. City MD in Las Vegas offers personalized wellness and weight management programs designed for real, lasting results. But they don't stop there. City MD also provides advanced pain therapy and primary care, giving you a complete head-to-toe approach to your health. One team, one plan, built around you. More energy, less pain, better health, real confidence. And here's the thing. Appointments are filling up fast, so stop waiting, stop putting it off. Give them a call at 725-255-7246. Our good friends Andy or Claudia will take it from there. Or go to citymdphp.com. That's citymdphp.com right now and schedule your consultation. City MD, stop waiting and start feeling like yourself again today.
I would also imagine Cousins has the leg up on Mendoza just for the fact that they are trying to do a long-term rebuild here with Clint Kubiak, who has worked with Cousins before, and the two of them know the same verbiage, same offense, and Andrew Janocko, who's the offensive coordinator, has the same exact offense. So it's plug and play with Kirk. Now, the version of Cousins that we've seen the last few years hasn't been the version of Cousins that those guys coached way back when. Question is, at what point does Mendoza take over? I know they're not going to declare Cousins the day one starter, but I would imagine, talking to league sources, Cousins has a serious leg up on Mendoza, not because of play necessarily, but because of the situation and the comfort in easing him in and getting him ready to play. They don't want to do anything too soon.
Covering the Raiders with the Las Vegas Review Journal, it's Adam Hill with the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio 920.
Welcome back inside the tailgate. The man you heard coming back in from break, Peter Schrager on the Pat McAfee Show, talking about a serious leg up Kirk Cousins is for the QB1 job here in Las Vegas over Fernando Mendoza. As you heard, Las Vegas Review Journal's own Adam Hill joining us here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. And Adam, how would you categorize this quarterback competition between Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza?
Yeah, I think it's what the Raiders want, right? I mean, we've seen Kirk Cousins come in every day and manage the offense like he's been in the league for 15 years, and we've seen Mendoza mostly come in and manage the offense like he's a rookie, and I think that's why Kirk Cousins is here. Like you want him to, come in and have a smooth transition for Kubiak, be the leader on the field, be the guy that manages everything, and you want Mendoza to be able to learn. That's exactly what Clint Kubiak talked about when we sat there at the owners' meetings with him and had that discussion. And he said he wanted a veteran. He didn't even have Cousins yet, although they knew they were getting him. They didn't even have him yet, but they said, hey, we want a veteran. We want a guy to come in and lead it. And rookies have a hard time adjusting, and that's what we've seen. I mean, if it's an actual competition, if they're actually competing right now, I mean, don't we need to see Mendoza have one day where he looks better than Cousins? We haven't seen that yet. it's been Cousins, pretty much looking like a smooth veteran, and Mendoza, it's different things every day. Some days it's decisions, some days it's communication. It's always something different, but if you took the jerseys away and the names away and everything else, it wouldn't even be close. I think there's people that probably want to see Mendoza because he's a first pick and everything else, but he's coming in at his own pace, and I think there's been a lot of positives in his development. I think you should be excited because you can see the talent, but if it's an actual competition, it hasn't been anywhere close on the field.
Well, I'll disagree with that wholeheartedly, and I think that one of the days that I was there, in my estimation, talking to other people, their estimation, Fernando outplayed Kirk. Now, that's neither here nor there. I agree with you. I don't necessarily think this is a fight between Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza. Fernando's running his own race, but there have been days where he has looked better, number one. Number two, I felt he looked far ahead of the game than what I actually thought while I was in Las Vegas. I'm looking forward to see him next week in Houston. So I do think progress has been made. I don't think he's always looked like a rookie. I think he's looked further ahead of the game than even I suspected, and it's really only a matter of time. So until he does take this job and runs with it, depending on, obviously if there's a little bit of pixie dust or magic, maybe Kirk gets the full season, they ride that out. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, and I do think Fernando's going to play extensively this year. If barring a major run or a surprise run, when do you think Fernando Mendoza will be deemed ready?
I take that back. There was a day, Kirk Cousins didn't practice, so Mendoza was better that day.
That wasn't the day that I'm talking about.
that was definitely one day where he'd be better.
Oh, that's good.
And he looked good. And he looked very good that day, by the way.
Especially he closed very well. I don't think you'd want Mendoza to play the first half of the season. I just don't, and I think part of it is where he is, where we've seen Kirk Cousins and where we've seen Mendoza. I think you would say the gap is pretty wide. I think it's going to be tough to close it, but also look at the schedule. There's a stretch of games, and I don't have it in front of me. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, but there's a stretch of games with just like loaded team after loaded team after loaded team. Like that's when you want to throw him out there. Like there's a reason that you have a veteran quarterback. You want him to take on some of the challenges while Mendoza is growing, and you want him to grow at his own pace and everything else. But do you want to throw him out there when you go like Broncos, Rams?
Adam, I'll help you out here because I'm looking at it. Week 4, it's Kansas City, New England, Buffalo, Rams, Jets, Niners, Seahawks, Broncos.
What are you scared of, though? What's everyone scared of? It's like he's not. This guy's played in massive games before. We've seen rookie quarterbacks go in and thrive. What the heck is everyone so scared about? Oh my gosh, it's the Rams. It's the NFL. Every team's going to be good. Get him out there and let him learn against those great teams and let him develop against those great teams.
But if your entire plan, like they've talked about, is wanting to see him learn behind the veteran, like you want to see the veteran be the one to take those lumps, I would think. I mean, I don't think they're necessarily winning a bunch of those games anyway. They're certainly not with Mendoza, I would say. But I think you want to have him go out there. You don't want to destroy his confidence. Once you make the move, you've made the move. I think that's fair to say. You can't go back on it. Mm-hmm. So if you're to go and put him in there and then he really struggles, let's just say for the sake of argument he really struggles. Like you don't want to ruin his confidence by saying, all right, let's put Cousins back in there, like let him get his confidence back, whatever. Like you don't want to do that. Like when you make the move, you want to make it for forever. You want to make that change. You want to make it for the next 10 to 15 years. There's no hurry on this. Like this is not a playoff team. This is not a team that they expect to compete. Like if the plan is to wait until he's fully ready. I don't think the plan is to wait until he's as good as Cousins. I don't think you wait that long. That might not even happen this year. But I think I don't see the hurry of putting him in there to try to run through a gauntlet like that. I just don't. I don't know why you would do that if your plan is to let him grow at his own pace. You wait until you have not only full confidence in him, but also when he is in a position where he can succeed.
But real quick. Is there something about Fernando that makes you think that he's going to get broken? I mean, I agree. There are players that I would be worried about that with. To me, Fernando's not one of them. Maybe you're seeing something different.
No, I don't. I'm just saying quarterbacks in general, and I don't know that his mindset is different than anybody else. I think anybody, if you come into a situation, if you were to run, I'm looking at every possibility
Caleb
of
Williams?
scenario. I mean, obviously,
did that break? Did a bad season break Caleb Williams or Drake May for that matter?
No, it didn't necessarily. But I think, I mean, obviously they've come through and they've succeeded. But like, if you were to go through that and get just say they got pummeled in a couple of games, I don't know that it sets him back necessarily. I don't think it destroys him necessarily. But if this is your plan, why would that be when you would put? Why would that be what you want to do? I think you have Cousins for a reason. You wanted to ease this transition. You wanted to make it so he could watch, and you can put him in a position where he can succeed. I mean, late in the season, I don't think you wait to the bye either, because I think they'll be pretty far back and out of it at that point. But I mean, if you look at that, the last month of the season, I think would be ideal to say, all right, here's your time. Go ahead and get out there. I think the schedule did them no favors in terms of when to do it. I just think if this is your plan, which has been your plan all along, even before you had Cousins, you were saying publicly, we want a veteran quarterback to allow the rookie quarterback to make a smooth transition. I think you try to find the smoothest transition point possible, and I just don't think that gauntlet of games would be when you would want to do it.
When you think about in terms of Cousins being further ahead than Mendoza, what are the things specifically that you like about Cousins and what he could bring to the table by week one?
You just watch it, right? If you watch out there every day, the consistency, and you see Kirk Cousins it's not that Mendoza's making the same mistakes. I think he's making different mistakes every day. And this is what, by the way, I want to stress this. It's what you want. Like, you remember what Mendoza said in OTAs? He said it very perfectly, I thought. He wants to be positively strained, right? Mm-hmm. He wants to have the pressure put on him. And Kirk Cousins has been doing this for 15 years. He was in this offense for 4 years. He understands what he's doing. He understands from the point of getting a play, communicating the play, getting the line of scrimmage, lining everybody up, understanding what the pre-snap reads are. Like, all of those steps, all of those processes, he looks like he's been doing it for 15 years. And Mendoza not necessarily looks like a rookie. Like, there's times where he comes up and everything is perfect, and then it goes and there's, maybe one thing goes wrong. That's good, because you want him to be under pressure. You want to be throwing everything at him. You don't want it to be easy for him. You don't want it to be like he has training wheels on. But like I said, some days they line up. They have to redo it, line up again, or they have to, get up to the line, and you see Janoko come out and yelling and saying, hey, like, here, line up here. Like, there's just different things every day. Not that it's happening a lot, not that it's consistent, but you see it so much more with Mendoza than Cousins, of just a little thing. And it's good. He is coming along very, very well. But if you just look at where Cousins is, where Mendoza is, it's very obvious which one has been doing it for 15 years and which one is doing it for the first time. That's why they wanted a veteran doing this. They understood this process was going to be very difficult, and I just think you see that progress. I think the Raiders should be thrilled with the way that it's going right now, with Cousins being where he is and Mendoza being where he is, and they can trust Cousins to throw him out there and be ready week one to lead this offense. And they know that Mendoza will be coming along at his own rate, and there's no pressure on him to have to, feel like the weight of the world is on his shoulders week one, like you've seen some quarterbacks in the past. And by the way, there's, everybody has done the stats now. Everybody's looked at the numbers. There's literally no rhyme or reason to whether it works out if you play the first year or you don't. Like, it just does not matter. It's completely pretty random in terms of whether it works out. Whether, you see Josh Allen, who was horrific in his first year, but then obviously bounced back. You see Mahomes, who didn't play his first year until the last game. He's been fine. All the way back to Peyton Manning was terrible in his first year. Like, there's just not a rhyme or reason to, is it better to sit out or to come along. It's individually based. And I think the Raiders feel in this offense and with Fernando Mendoza, it's better to have the veteran be in there.
It's Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal. Adam, I do want to ask you, somebody who has made it look easy in training camp, and I know it's not, but he has been one smooth operator, is Malik Benson. And we got to talk to him yesterday, and a guy who he says he befriended Fernando Mendoza early on at the Combine, and it was one of those things like we just hit it off, and Fernando has had to check him from time to time, and as well as vice versa. But even last night, his performance at the open practice, still a practice, but an elevated version of it, if you will. He continues to make plays, and that has been, the one consistent common thread that we've seen all training camp. I'm curious for you, with the context of this wide receiver room in general, how has his play, his flash during training camp changed your expectations for not only him, but what that wide receiver rotation groupings may look like?
Yeah, I think pretty dramatically, and I think if you look at Malik Benson, what he did, particularly at college at Oregon, he was essentially a one route guy. He was, if not even a one route, it was a one task. It was get deep and make plays downfield. If you talk to some of the people around the organization, they said, no, we understood that he was much more than that he could do much more than that he was much more capable. That's just what he was asked to do with that offense, and you've seen it. He's a full route tree guy. He can do everything that you ask of him. His hands are spectacular, contested catches. He can do everything that you could ask of a wide receiver. So I think when you make the draft pick, if you look at the college film, you say, all right, this is going to be the guy that they kind of hoped Dante Thornton would be last year in terms of stretching the field, backing safeties off, throwing the deep ball, especially early in his career. He would be just a one-role guy. I don't think that's the case at all. I think he can do a little bit of everything for sure. I think he's absolutely earned his way into the rotation. I think he's going to have a pretty big role in the offense. Certainly, whenever it is that Fernando Mendoza comes in, he's going to be a guy that looks to him a lot. We've seen that every day in practice. Sometimes, to be fair, sometimes to the detriment of the offense a little bit when you see him force the ball a little bit to him. But he loves throwing to him. They have a great connection, and I think that's one of those things you watch for when, if and when Mendoza is in the game, which is when, not if, when he is in games. I think he's going to be a guy that absolutely has that connection. You've seen that over the years a lot of times when you have, a second team, a rookie quarterback taking second team reps and then second team receiver, and then all of a sudden they kind of get elevated together and they've got that chemistry from working together all year. I think that's going to be one to watch. But even on first team offense, you're going to see a lot of Malik Benson, I think, because he has showed he can do a lot more. And now they're really expanding his role on special teams as well, at least in practice. He's a guy that they're going to be, I think, very happy with. He's going to be very ahead of where they thought he was going to be. And I think he does answer at least one of those questions of who steps up in that wide receiver room. He's a guy that, every single day makes plays.
Yeah, agreed. And the yin and the yang of that, Adam, is that, he's doing his thing, but I don't know. I feel a little sketchy about the rest of that wide receiver room in terms of guys truly stepping up, and especially those second-year guys that you mentioned. Dante Thornton, you already mentioned him, Jack Besh as well. But what are your overall thoughts on that wide receiver room right now?
Oh, I still think they need an X. I think that's something they've needed for a while. I think they need a big physical guy. But I also think if you're not going to have one, Kubiak's system is the one that you can get away with it, because he's going to be able to move chess pieces around and set some things up for sure. Just utilizing the skill sets of the player. But I think you're right. I mean, they needed what this group needed. Obviously, adding Jalen Naylor, who can take on a little bit of an expanded role, but isn't a star. Trey Tucker is, a playmaking guy who isn't big or physical or anything like that, but I think Kubiak could be able to use him. But you were going to need to see one of those second-year guys step up. Jack Besh, could. I think, you see him not necessarily able to create separation, but he is able to make, catches in traffic, things like that if the quarterback's trying to kind of put it on him. But he still has not, really figured out how to create that separation at this level. Dante Thornton, we haven't really seen much because he's been out of practice and injured, so he hasn't really had that opportunity. But even when we haven't seen him take that next step either. So I think there was that kind of concern of, is anybody else going to be around? And Malik Benson has answered that question. Like, they need help in that room. They need to add to it for sure. There's no doubt about that. Brock Bowers will probably have like 700 catches for that reason, but
yep.
You need to take some of the pressure off. You need to have production out of the wide receivers, and I think Benson is going to help that, but he's not going to make them some kind of elite wide receiver room. He just gives them an additional useful piece in that area. They definitely need upgrades there. I think it's something I've been I was talking about earlier in the offseason. I think it's one of the most important positions they address next year, and I don't think there's anything that has changed your opinion of that. Like, yes, Malik Benson helps, but it doesn't mean you don't need a lot of help there. I think that's a key piece that they're going to have to work on next offseason.
What do you think the quarterback rotation will be tomorrow for the Raiders?
think you see Cousins early. I think you see, probably the first series, maybe two. And I think you probably see Mendoza get at least one series with the rest of the first team, just to kind of see how that works out. I think you see Cousins, not staying as long as the rest of the first team. At least the offensive line is in there. Then Mendoza takes over. I think Mendoza plays at least through the first half. I would think, and then let Aiden O'Connell go. I think you're going to see some extensive time from at least Fernando Mendoza and maybe some other prominent players. Like, I think there are still roles that need to be worked out and a lot of guys they need to see, and this is going to be an opportunity. Clint Kubiak seems to be somebody that's going to take it seriously. We don't really know. He hasn't really tipped his hand, but the fact that he said it's a competitive advantage to not reveal how long everybody's playing leads me to believe he cares.
I didn't know you were so anti-Jacob Clark. Unbelievable. No run for Jacob Clark.
We'll see him. We'll see him at some point, I think.
Thank you.
Halfway through the fourth quarter.
Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review Journal.
Week 3, preseason game 3.
Adam, we appreciate you. Thanks, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yep, talk to you guys.
Thank you.
That is Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review Journal, 702-365-9200. We'll get your thoughts. It's the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. It's hour number 3 here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, and Clay Baker coming to you live from Las Vegas here on a Wednesday, August 12, 2026. Hours removed from the open practice at Allegiant Stadium. Just hours away from the preseason opener against the Arizona Cardinals. Starters will play, not just tomorrow, but throughout the preseason as well. Marcus Johnson, Tape Don't Lie, was with us in Las Vegas for a little training camp this past week. Marcus, it was great to see you. I guess let's just start with when you look at your notebook, and I got to tell you, this guy was filling his notebook with notes.
Yes.
Not doodles, Clay. Not doodles, notes. What and who did you write about the most, Marcus?
That's an interesting question. Who I wrote about the most was probably Tonka Hemingway.
Oh.
To be honest, I think Tonka Hemingway definitely stood out to me a lot in camp. It was just that he was consistently making plays when I was out there. And then in one-on-ones, I went and watched the defense, the tackle, and O-line one-on-ones. I wanted to check that out when I went out there, and he just dominated those. Like they were struggling against him. It didn't matter if it was Rodgers or JPJ or even Spencer Burford. It didn't matter, and he was just going around those guys pretty quickly in those one-on-ones. And then you would see him just get penetration in the run game, get some pressures, and when he's out there in camp. So he was really impressive. Like what he is showing out there is just a very impressive player. Now, there's some times where, you can still see that, maybe the run game is going to need some development a little bit, but I think he's found a way to learn how to penetrate and still, instead of just trying to, take on some blocks, he uses quickness to get into the backfield, kind of like how Max does. Max does that sometimes where he doesn't always set the edge. He's going to use his quickness just to make a play, and I think Hemingway's learning that instead of just trying to take on blocks all the time and understand that he has to use his athleticism to kind of win against the run. And, that might end up in some mistakes in the run game at times, but I still think that he has that vision of what he really wants to do. So I think he's kind of going to take that step of how he wants to become a player. And I can't wait to see it. That's my thing. I want to see it live, against other people, other competition, and see how that translates that way and how it translates into the season.
Marcus, we just had a good friend of ours, a former colleague of mine, Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review Journal, on, and he, in his estimation, it's not even close between Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza. I see it a little bit differently, but I'm curious, after watching them for about a week, what your thoughts are on where Fernando is, comparatively speaking, to where Kirk Cousins is right now, based on what you saw.
I think when it comes to Mendoza, I think when he got that day on Saturday, the competition got a lot closer. And it was funny how Kirk Cousins had such a great day. The next time he came out there, that's how you kind of could feel how the competition is revving up. And I think Mendoza does have a shot to maybe not get the job right away. Maybe doesn't get it week one, but that leash on Kirk Cousins is getting shorter. He's pulling on it. He's pulling on the leash. You can even feel the pressure when Cousins was doing some interviews talking about how he's trying to hold them off as long as possible. So he's feeling that pressure too from Mendoza because one, to me, it's an eye test thing. Like when I watch Mendoza throw the football and I watch Kirk Cousins throw the football, Cousins, he just looks like an older player who is making all the right throws. So, you can see how somebody like Adam Hill can see that he's playing better than Mendoza because technically, when he's with the ones, I mean, he's making a lot of good throws. They are there. He had a good throw to Michael Mayer. Taron Johnson was all over him when I was there at camp. It was a great, perfect placement. But it's just the way the ball kind of just floats a little bit, and it's you can see that maybe, there might be like some kind of limitations there at times that might kind of hold his offense back if they are starting to play well and he ends up being that guy that's holding them back because of some of the throws that he's making, and he can't move too much, right? And then you saw Mendoza kind of work with the ones, and you just saw him throughout camp. You still see that movement skills. I saw on Behind the Shield, they thought Mendoza ran like a 4.64, and you kind of could see that movement. Like he was able to get out of the pocket and make some throws, and he just gives more to the offense. And maybe help out the offensive line a little bit more, then maybe they start to lean that way. But to me, it's an eye test thing. When I see Mendoza, he's like 6'5", he's huge, and when he throws the football, you see velocity on him. Like people talk about his arm strength. When you watch that ball, him throw the ball in person, he has velocity on it. He has great arm strength. He's making decisions. He's anticipating. So, and he's having a pretty good handle on the offense. So I think it's a lot closer than it looks, but Cousins is going to look good out there because he's still deadly accurate. That's one thing I noticed when I was out there is that he was hitting everything.
Yeah, those accuracies can't be overlooked, especially in the Kubiak offense. And I often wondered, if you start the year with somebody like Cousins, doesn't that benefit a lot of the skill players that are out there to kind of get the offense going? But also between Bowers and Genty, who does Cousins help the most, especially when you start week one?
It'll probably be somebody, starting week one. I think it would be Bowers, because then Bowers would definitely have the production. I'm saying, like, Cousins can still get it done that way. Like, even last year when I watched him on film, and you saw what he did for Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts ended up getting a big deal.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts had that whole breakout at the end of the season, had all those touchdowns, and a lot of that was Kirk Cousins. And because Cousins in the middle of the field, you can still see a little bit more velocity when he's throwing into the middle of the field than you see him throwing outside, right? The guys that kind of fell off last year when Kirk Cousins became the starter for the Falcons was like I think Drake London and those guys got hurt, but even like the Morris and some of those outside receivers they didn't have that same production that they had early in the year when they were playing with Michael Penix, who's throwing all over the field, right? And what you see with Cousins and Bowers, that's going to really get a benefit Bowers because that's where he's going to be throwing the football because it's one, the best place he can get the most velocity on the football, and just that he's the best player on the team, right? So he's going to be throwing in the ball a lot, and it's going to be mixing in. So for Brock Bowers, it feels like Kirk Cousins probably would be the better guy.
It's Marcus Johnson of Tape Don't Lie here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. What's the split you think it's going to look like tomorrow night, quarterback-wise?
I think Cousins probably get like a series, like especially if they go down and they score, even if they get a field goal, right? Even a field goal attempt, it doesn't matter if it's hit or a miss. If they go down there, they get a field goal. I think the Cousins going to come out, and then you can see a lot of Mendoza. You probably see Mendoza play probably all through the second quarter, maybe like early in, probably like late in the first. He probably comes in, and then he probably comes in, plays in the second, and plays into the third quarter, and then you probably see a lot of AOC after that. So I kind of expect it to go that way. I just hope he gets a lot of series. Maybe in their head they're thinking like series more than quarters, So like if they want him to get 3 or 4 series out there, because if the defense is giving them more series, we might see Mendoza play less than we actually want to because maybe they have a limit on exactly how many times he's out there, right? So it might be a little bit different depending on how the game flows too, how far he plays. But I expect him to kind of play into the third quarter. So you come back from halftime, he'll probably still be out there, and then play a little bit, a couple series in the third quarter, or how many they want to get out of it, and then you'll see ALC the rest of the game. So yeah, I expect them to see a lot of Mendoza. That's what I'm excited about. Especially that's what kind of preseason is about, is seeing the young guys and having all these young guys on the team just kind of makes this preseason a little bit more exciting than previous ones.
When it does come to the young players, who are we going to be talking about on Friday morning? 2 names of players that you think are going to pop off, and we're going to be talking about them. Have a good chance to pop off, and us ended up talking about them on Friday.
I'm going to throw a crazy one out there. I'm going to go Greedy Vance. I think Greedy Vance is going to really show why he's getting more playing time, especially why they have him playing with the linebacker drills. I think he's going to make some tackles in the backfield, make some plays that way, maybe even even blitz the quarterback and make a play that way where we're talking about him that way, him making some tackles and making flash plays, and people start noticing it. Especially, he has a couple interceptions in camp, and he's really being effective out there, and I think he's really making his way up there where they're starting to figure out ways to they're moving Taron Johnson around, right? They're moving Taron Johnson around. You got Hezekiah Masters playing slot. That means that who's the next guy up at the slot position? It's Greedy Vance, and so he's making his case for him to be there, be that guy. So I really expect it for him to make some plays. And another guy I think we're going to be talking about a lot is Mike Washington. I think Mike Washington's going to have a good day. I think he's going to go out there and just have some explosive runs. Maybe something explosive on the catch, run some guy over out there. I think those are two guys that I think they're going to have some pretty big games because, this is the type of game for Mike Washington. He's that backer running back. He's going to get a lot of carries, right? He's going to get a lot of action, and he's going to probably get some action deep into the game, right? Then maybe see Robin Hemby in there later, but, I think they're going to kind of keep that rotation where it's like Lobby, Washington, all those guys getting a lot of carries late in the game. So I'm really excited to see what he can do because he looks really great at camp too.
What did you make of the Cardinals' first game, the Hall of Fame game against Carolina, and how Carson Beck looked and how that will test a young secondary for the Raiders?
Yeah, I think Carson Beck, he went out there, he played really well. I think Beck is such an interesting guy to me because if he came out, and I forgot what year it was, if he came out with I think it was with Drake May and maybe 2023, one of those years when he would have came out with maybe with C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, he would have been up there for going number one. And, he just went back to college and, maybe he didn't play as well as, he did previously, but he was out there looking like the guy, right? And a lot of people thought he was going to be that guy because he has a size. And, he had an injury to his arm, too, that really affected him a lot. His arm was kind of just dead last year a little bit, so he had to be more of a game manager type of player. And I think what you saw from him is that arm strength is coming back. He was making a lot of those good throws. That means that he's getting healed in the arm, and he looked a lot better out there. Because there's a lot of things I really liked about him. I think that was maybe his was a sophomore year at Georgia that he just a lot of his pocket movement, a lot of the throws that he made. He just looked like a first round talent back then. So he is a guy that could challenge the secondary, especially with how he was throwing the ball. Like he looked like he understood what he was doing in that offense. The West Coast offense, he was really able to run it, especially because he was running some of those things in college too. I think he has a good, a good idea of what they really want to do in the NFL. So I think, he looked good out there. It was just you want to see, him make a little bit more accurate sometimes, and maybe there's going to be some chances for the Raiders to get some interceptions if he does make some mistakes or misses a throw. But he has the talent to kind of rip you apart a little bit.
I'm really fascinated to see tomorrow night, specifically Trey Zune III, and really where they kind of move him around, right? Because we've seen him at the guard center tackle spot. Last couple days of training camp, he was kind of operating at right tackle, but then the last 2 days, specifically last night at the open practice, he was operating as the number 2 center. So how curious are you to see what and I know we've asked you before, but his profile, what he's really good at, where do you think he eventually ends up for the Raiders?
I think this year, I think for me, I think he's going to be playing more center this year than he's going to be playing right tackle, just because I think they like Jordan Meredith at guard because I think he played better at guard when I was at camp. Then they like him at center. But Will Putnam is the next guy up. So that means that, Will Putnam did not have a good day when I was out there. And it kind of made sense that after I watched those couple of days that Trey Zune was playing more center because he probably is the better backup center for you right now. So for the situation, I bet in this game we're going to see him play a lot of center. I think he's going to be out there playing that position. But I think when the season comes along, though, and you have Tyler Linderbaum out there, and he's played a lot of snaps without getting hurt, in some of those things. He's going to be out there all year. If DJ Glade goes out there and struggles, I think Trey Zune is still the next right tackle up, though. I think he's the backup for both those positions. I think he's a backup center. He's a backup right tackle. But I think in preseason we're going to see him play a lot of center because I think that's the position that you got to get him used to. Even though he played it pretty well when he went out there, during Texas A&M, it's still a new position. It's like his first time playing it last year. He still has to get used to that. So I think they're going to have him in the preseason play a lot of center because he will be needed there if something happens. But they can move JPJ and all those other things too. But I still think that's what they want Trey Zoo to be. They want him to be kind of that versatile guy. But I think in the season he's going to be the backup right tackle. But I think in preseason it's going to be all center.
One thing that all NFL teams are challenged with is building quality depth. And so I feel really good about the Raiders linebackers. But I also feel pretty good about Cody Lindenberg. I thought he really looked like a different player, highly athletic in training camp. And also Kion Sloan. And we've talked about him a lot, Marcus. But your thoughts on those two linebackers and the opportunity maybe both of them might have to actually get on the field, not just as backups, but maybe in a rotation or at least in a package.
Yeah, I think they're really high on Sloan. I think Sloan was getting a lot more reps. I think he even got a sneaky first-team rep one time, and it was maybe just one rep, but they just wanted to see him out there with those guys, which kind of means a lot, right? And I think with Sloan, he looked really good in the one-on-ones too. He looked unblockable in the one-on-ones. He looked very quick. You see the athleticism, and he's another guy who's going to have a pretty good preseason, in my opinion. But I think they're already high on him. He really has a shot to make it. I mean, there are some guys in front of him, like Brennan Jackson. He might be a guy that might maybe give him a little a chance that Brennan Jackson takes that spot over Sloan. There is that chance there, especially if Jackson goes out there and has a really good preseason himself. But I think Sloan does have that. If they feel like that Sloan plays well enough that they want to keep both of them, they might knock off another place in the roster because if Sloan hits that practice squad, somebody's going to pick him up. He has waivers. I don't think he's going to make the practice squad. That's going to be really a struggle for them to keep him. So I think that need for Sloan kind of pushes him up there, but he looked really good at camp. So I think that he's going to be a guy that we're watching the preseason too, to see what that looks like, and they ended up keeping him there. When it comes to Lindenberg, though, I think Lindenberg, he's the next linebacker up. I think if anything ever happened to these linebackers, he'll be out there if they have to play a running team. Right, and they want to get those old school heavy stats out there. Mm-hmm. He's going to be that guy up because he looked legit. He looked like he was playing the run. Even in drills, he looks great. You're watching some of those linebacker drills. He just looks fluid. Looks like he even can play some coverage. I know he got an interception. I think yesterday he got an interception off a tip. But even then, still that linebacker being in that right spot, making sure that he knows where he's at. That's how you get those tips and those interceptions like that. So I think that. He is a guy he looks like he's taking the next step. He looks like a totally different player, in my opinion. So it's going to be tough to keep him off the field.
In your estimation, the wide receiver room, is there enough depth there to be explosive, or are there concerns?
I didn't have as much concerns when I went to camp than when I left. Because, this is a Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer team, in my opinion. I think they're going to get a lot of throws. They're going to get a lot of throws there. And there's going to be maybe some wide receivers that, maybe like Trey Tucker gets a lot of that targets. He got a lot of targets while I was out there. And then you mix in Jalen Naylor. It's not going to go too deep this year that I think that we have to kind of freak out about the wide receiver position. I think if they're smart enough to know the talent they have, which I really like. That's what I wanted to see is, like, what's your vision for this offense? And, the vision for this offense isn't going to be built around, throwing it outside that much or throwing it to some of these wide receivers. And you are going to need that at times, but then, you have Brock Bowers who can move around anywhere. Right, that guy could be anywhere that you really want him to be, right? And I think that the offense is going to be built around him, obviously, and him moving around, him playing in the slot. But they are going to have some guys that are going to have to win outside at times, and I think that they have that set up perfectly where they can kind of mix around the targets a little bit. But I don't think you have to worry about the wide receivers having that crazy production this year because they have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. Genty was out there getting a lot of passes, in my opinion, way more than I expected. So he's going to be really part of this passing game as well. So, I think that they have some wide receivers that, they're kind of role players. Right, and it's not going to get you excited. It's not going to be in the fantasy. You're going to be able to, take that guy. You're not going to be able to, talk trash about the wide receivers you have because they are kind of role players. So that's really what they are. But when you have Brock Bowers and you have some of the weapons you have, it's going to be like that. But it's going to be interesting, how the season goes along. But I wasn't as, disappointed in the group because they have their roles and they're doing it well.
Marcus, last one for you. We got a request up on the text line. I believe this is it Gage? Is it Gage? Uh-oh. Gage says, let's see how Jacob Clark plays. We will need a quarterback 2 or 3 after this year if we don't re-sign Aiden. Jacob Clark has the height, weight to sustain hits. Let's see how he does. Gage wants to know what his college tape tells you about his chances in transitioning to the NFL.
Ooh. Gage, I can't. I'm not gonna lie to you on here. I have not watched any. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Gage. And then at a training camp, he didn't throw the ball once. So
I know it's tough. I was about to say we don't even really have any tape on him from training camp.
Training camp don't lie. We have nothing.
Now I will say this: the height and weight. He looks good out there. He looks like an NFL guy.
Looks good to me.
Marcus, looks like you got some homework. Hopefully we get some tape on him tomorrow.
Almost every single player has been profiled on Tape Don't Lie. So go back and
89 out of the 90.
Yeah.
89 out of the 90. Jacob Clark's that one. Marcus.
He's the one, man. I got to find some Missouri State tape. I don't know where to find that. What's that? That'd be tough.
We have to send something over to the SID over there. Help us out.
Marcus Johnson, Tape Don't Lie. Marcus, what do you got on tap ahead of the preseason opener?
Yeah, so we're going to do it. We're going live, of course, after the game, and I'm excited about that. And then I get some tape on Friday, so by Sunday we'll be doing some breakdowns on some players, man. So I'm excited about that. So the breakdowns start. Probably do 2 breakdowns into the next game, right? And so the film's coming. We're going to start doing some breakdowns for you guys. So I'm really excited about that. There's going to be coming out, especially with all the young players. There's going to be a lot of focus and a lot of stuff that we can do. So I'm really excited about what this preseason film's coming up.
At the Mark John NFL on the X, Marcus Johnson, Tape Don't Lie up on YouTube. Marcus, we appreciate you. Great to see you this weekend, my friend.
Thank you, guys. You guys, great seeing you guys as well.
All right, Marcus Johnson.
Thank you, Marcus.
Man, sorry, Gage. I tried.
You want to hear something funny?
He goes, real quick, Vinny, he goes, where do you even find Jacob Clark tape?
Well,
that's not a good start.
Exactly. So the Rams' 4th string quarterback right now is Michael Caldwell. He was the backup at Texas last year, right? Mm-hmm. So he had transferred from Troy State to Texas last year. Was the backup to Arch Manning last year. He's on the Rams roster. He's out there in training camp. So I went up to Les Snead, their general manager. I go, Les, how does he even land on your radar? And the funniest story. So he has a daughter that's at the University of Texas. Les does, right? And his wife, Kara, went out to Texas. I think the daughter might work for the football team or something along those lines. Anyway, Kara was at a spring practice last year, and she calls up Les, and she's like, "You're not going to believe it, but there's a quarterback at Texas that's from your hometown." Les is from Alabama. He's like, "No, there can't be. No way. There's not." And she's like, "I'm serious. There is. His name is Mike Caldwell, and I got to tell you, he's shredding Texas's D. Like, he's out here doing his thing." So then Les went down there and saw him and just watched him in practice and was like, this kid's pretty good. Forget the fact that he's from his hometown. He ended up playing at the rival high school or an hour away or something like that. Anyway, he barely played last year. Got in some garbage time here and there. But as a backup, as a Texas University of Texas backup, and now he's on the Rams right now, and who knows what might happen. So you never know about these guys. So when Gabe asked that question about the Raiders' 4th stringer right now, I had to laugh in my head because you never know, and there might not even be any film of him. There's hardly any film of Caldwell. I guess you'd have to dig into his Troy State stuff, but yeah. Everyone has a different journey to the NFL, without a doubt.
There's no film of me. Maybe I could land as a 4th QB. I could stand there.
I think you should just kind of focus on what you're doing now, Vince. I think that's the path. If I were to advise you, if I was your agent, if I was, in your
you said that
circle.
very nicely. That was very polite,
yes.
Vince. I think you should just keep doing. You just keep doing you.
Just do that. Just do that.
I could though, Clay. Don't put a ceiling on me.
Well, if Gage is also saying that on the text line, you do just what you're doing right now, then I think we should just take it as that.
Gage just mad.
How far do you think you could throw a football?
Could throw it over the mountains.
20 yards, tops.
You, how dare you? You don't know my velocity. You don't know my rotator geometry.
No. 30 in the air. 30 in the air.
It'll be like that.
We're talking Nerf ball, right? Yeah, right. I could chuck that thing.
Let's have you against Clark. Let's go.
I'm more of a rhythm passer. I'm not a big arm guy. I'm just more of a rhythm. My pace.
When you get in the zone.
You're a West Coast offense guy?
Yeah, I'm a very specific pace. My pace.
Yeah.
702-365-9200. We'll open up the phone lines. If you were at practice, we want to hear from you, your takeaways, your opinions, your thoughts. Let's check out the text line, 702-365-9200. Dame says, none of us have known Fernando for the last 10 years, so none of us can say what type of man he is or how strong he is mentally. All we can judge is what we see on the field, and what we do see is that he's not ready. When he gets ready, he can take the field. I'll say this. Agree with you, Dame. Don't know the guy for 10 years. All I can see is what I've seen, and what I've seen is mentally he seems true, right? Like, there's no bad body language one way or another. Good plays, bad plays, everything looks the exact same, even-keeled. Every coach we've talked to has said as much. Every interview we've heard through his college days about his mental capacity is strong like bull, right? So that's what we're going off of. I'm not pretending to sit here and say, like, oh, yeah, known the kid for 15 years. He's been like this since he was 6 years. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying when it comes to the schedule, right? And, Vinny, this goes back to the argument to play him or to not play him, right? Through the schedule isn't maybe what you would hope it would be in terms of getting him in there. I don't think it matters because of everything we've heard, we've read and talked to people about it from his days in college that we've had on this show to the time that we've seen him up close and personal talking with his coaches and his teammates in the here and the now. There's nothing that points to him saying, oh, man, I don't know if he's ready for that mentally. Again, for me, it is all about physically, and not physically for him. Physically, we can't get into a David Carr situation where he's getting peeled off the grass every other play. He can't be throwing the football 50 times a game. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not worried about mentally, again, for all those reasons.
I'm not even in the least. Every game that is available on YouTube, and there's a whole bunch of them going all the way back to Cal, is there for the watching. I watched him. There was not one time, not once, and he got the you-know-what kicked out of him at times at Cal. He never once had that deer in the headlights look. Never once. Not early on in his career, not later on in his career. Not when things were going bad, not when the bright lights were on, not when the stage was the biggest. He always looked in complete command. So, yeah, I don't have to know somebody for 10 years to have a real strong feeling. And it's not just me. This is shared throughout, NFL people that I talk to that are paid to look into these things, that are paid to assess these very types of things, not just the physical, but the mental, but the makeup. And because that's a big part of it. How's he going to act when there's money in his pocket? What kind of a person are we getting when the bullets are flying and everything's going haywire? Can we rely on this guy to stand there, toes in the ground and deal with it and come out of it, not just as a survivor, but somebody that grew from it? And everybody that I talk to that's known him, worked with him, that I've talked to. I haven't talked to everybody, obviously, but I've talked to enough people that say that's not a concern. In a lot of ways, that's why I brought up Caleb Williams. I felt like that about Caleb Williams going into last year. 2 years ago. I didn't like the situation that he was necessarily entering in Chicago. There were a lot of holes on that football team. I was iffy about the coach in charge, and it just didn't look like a great situation to put a rookie quarterback in. And sometimes there are rookie quarterbacks who you say, there's no way we could put him into this situation. He's liable to get broken. But I looked at Caleb Williams, I'm like, that's not a breakable dude. He's a guy that just swims through it all, whatever it is, the good, the bad, the indifferent, everything, and survives. He's built like that. Fernando isn't built exactly the same as Caleb Williams, but they share an exact trait, and that is it's hard to break people like that have such, as you said, optimistic, positive view, and just have things in perspective and understand how to deal, how to absorb, how to digest, how to process good things and bad things, because you're going to experience both in the NFL, and sometimes as a rookie, you're going to experience a lot more of the bad stuff. We've seen that time and time and time again, and the great ones, the ones that are wired correctly, are able to handle it. And I firmly believe, as I sit here right now, I firmly believe, and I'm pounding my hand on a table, that Fernando Mendoza is one of those dudes that's built like that.
Susan up on the text line says, have you guys thought about the fact that Clint's dad was the coach when David Carr was getting killed and lost all the confidence? Lesson learned up close with that, and Tom Brady big on waiting. Might all play into it. Not might, probably does. All plays into it. Information is power. And Clint has talked about he's used all of not only his experiences, but he talks to his dad all the time and has used those experiences as well. So, I mean, definitely something that's probably there in the back of your mind. We saw Gary Kubiak at practice last week. Clint talked about how awesome, or he didn't talk about, but, expressed how cool it was to have his dad there. And no doubt, I'm sure all those experiences roll up as part of the decision-making process.
Yeah, and that was a garbage offensive line with the Houston Texans. It was an expansion team, and it was just a bad scene. I liked what I saw of the offensive line for the Raiders a lot while I was out there. Really curious to see what it looks like against the Houston Texans. I think that's going to go a long way in Clint Kubiak deciding whether or not they have a good offensive line or if it's a shaky offensive line. And if it is a bad offensive line, if that's what he intuitively sees, then it would be irresponsible to put Fernando Mendoza behind that. I don't think it's going to be the case, though. And by the way, yesterday I'm at 49ers-Titans practice. I'm looking over at the 49ers offense, the guy that's calling the plays, because right now Kyle Shanahan is still a little bit on the mend. And I'm like, man, what's Clint Kubiak doing over here?
Clay.
It was his brother, Clay. Clay Kubiak
Clay.
looks exactly like Clint. He shaved off the beard. The last picture I saw of him was he had a beard, so he looked a little bit different than Clint with the beard. Obviously, Clint doesn't have a beard. Was clean shaven. I'm like, what's Clint doing here? And they look exactly the same. They walk the same. All their mannerisms are the same. So it was pretty hilarious. I had to remind myself, oh yeah, that's Clay Kubiak, the offensive coordinator of the 49ers now.
Clay, what were you doing out there?
Oh, well, just trying to sweep up a little bit, just maintain the sidelines, keeping it clean.
Raider Sean says, good morning, gents. This was a bit ago from Raider Sean, but he said, just tuning in today. It was my daughter's first day of first grade, so instead of starting my morning with Raider Nation Radio at 7 a.m., got a late start. I had to start with the likes of K-pop Demon Hunters, Sing 2, and Michael Jackson.
Well, that'll do it.
How did Mendoza look yesterday? God bless, go Raiders. Before we get back into Mendoza, how did you watch all three of those? K-pop Demon Hunters, Sing 2, and Michael Jackson?
That's the playlist on the drive to school.
Oh,
yeah. They were jamming.
Gotta have a playlist.
Got it. Understood. In my mind, I was like, you were watching all those movies before school?
No,
that is quite the morning. That's quite the big breakfast.
Yep.
Did you? What's on your playlist when you take Jax or whoever? When you guys drive around?
Silence.
Yeah, pure silence.
We're just angry that the day has begun and he has to go to school. He does. That's how.
How about on the way to practice? Are you in a better mood there?
That's how it was early on for him in first grade. There would be days where I don't want to listen to anything. I just want to sit here. I'm not happy I'm going to school. Right? Meanwhile, Riley, she just wants to sing every song. She starts making up songs and upsets him. Anyways,
I can see why he likes quiet.
yeah, not great. But in terms of Mendoza looked super crisp last night. Again, I'll say it again. He was on all of his throws. He was sacked a couple times. Again, I would not call it his fault on either one of them. Right tackle kind of got blown up in his face and messed up the play. The play obviously continued. They weren't in pads last night, so the plays continue anyways. And the one interception he had, it was off. It was tipped off the hands of his receiver, and Cody Lindenberg picked it off, went the other way. But again, I go back to him, and his connection with Malik Benson is is one of one. And it's really interesting to see those two kind of come together. But his best throw, I think, was that one to Jack Besh, about 15, 18 yards downfield, out route on the sidelines, just perfect. Only place Jack Besh could get it. Jack Besh, great route, created the separation that maybe we haven't talked about with Jack Besh in terms of creating that separation, was able to do so on that particular play, get the 2 feet down and move the stick. So I thought Mendoza looked super clean on Tuesday night in front of 11,000 members of Raider Nation. Very excited to see how he parlays that into that preseason opener against the Arizona Cardinals tomorrow night.
And not to throw our good friend Dalton Wagner, that proud Arkansas Razorback, under the bus, not trying to do that, but just trying to, if everyone's like, the right tackle, oh my gosh, DJ Glaze, it wasn't DJ Glaze.
Nope, not DJ Glaze. No, it was not Trey Zune either, who had been playing right tackle for a good portion of training camp with the twos. He was moved to center, Dalton Wagner at right tackle.
And Dalton Wagner's been in the program for, I want to say 3 years now. He's only played in one game. He's been a practice squad guy. So it was him. It wasn't DJ Glaze, because a lot of people are a little worried about DJ Glaze. I wouldn't be worried.
Good point. DJ. Good note to make on that one. But yeah, very clean. Kirk was solid as mentioned. Couple. Clay, I guess I would describe it as just not on the same page. The first throw of team drill to Jalen Naylor.
Yeah.
Something went awry. It's hard for me to believe that it was a bad pass because it was so not on target.
Yeah, he said, look, they did seem like they're on the same page.
Jalen Naylor looked like might have been again, I wasn't in the huddle, so hard for me to point the finger. But Kirk looks solid. Again, anytime you throw to Brock Bowers, which he did multiple times, it always looks good. And that's not to discredit Kirk.
Right.
That's just to more elevate number 89.
And that's why that's the thing about this offense. You don't have to do it all yourself. If you're the quarterback, there's weapons around you. And how you're going to utilize them is really going to be a major factor of them getting down the field and sustaining drives.
Yeah.
But how much will Naylor then play in this series up against the Cardinals? Does he need to be there with Kirk?
Yes, I would say definitely. Again, it's going to be fascinating to see what that split looks like. Clint Kubiak keeping things close to the vest in terms of what that split, what that rep count looks like, will be. Who's with the
and
ones?
Don't forget
who's
they
with
got a long day of work ahead of them against the Houston Texans next week. So there's going to be a lot of that's where the first team, barring any injuries or anything like that, the first team is going to be going against their best for when they get to team period for an extensive period of time. So. I think that we'll probably. I mean, it sounds like we're going to see the first team guys at least a little bit tomorrow night.
Definitely.
But I think if you're in the Houston area and that's an open practice, and I don't know if it is or not. I'll try to find out. I would imagine that it will be. It's going to be a great day to really get an idea of the offensive line and everything. Because I'll tell you this: watching yesterday, it was just a reminder. I mean, fights aside, and literally from the first snap. There was a fight, and then there were four within the first six, and the coaches were so pissed off. It's dumb. It really is dumb, and it just ruins everything. Anyway, that said, they were popping out there yesterday, and there were some actual real tackles. Guys taken to the ground. So the whole thing gets ratcheted up a bit, because even when the Raiders are in pads. And any team really, when you're talking about practicing against each other, you're in pads. I get it, and it's full pads, and in some cases, especially along the offensive line, there's going to be some real action. But it's still on a limited basis. Yesterday was a noticeable level up, and I expect that to be the case. When the Raiders, practice against the Houston Texans. And obviously it will be tomorrow, but we just don't know who exactly is going to be out there tomorrow and for how long. Or next week in Houston, it's going to be for an extensive period of time.
We'll get your final thoughts coming up here on the Final Sit Down, but not before Clay has a gift for you.
Be caller number 9. We'll get you a pair of tickets for the Ex-Ambassadors over at the Sahara Pool, Saturday, September 26th. Be caller 9, 702-365-9200. Coming up next, the Final Sit Down.
It is the Final Sit Down here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Big thanks to Marcus Johnson of Tape Don't Lie, Adam Hill of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and our once a Raider, always a Raider, Grant Irons. Salsa Sal up on the text line. During those rough times, Burgess was one of my favorite Raiders growing up. Grant Irons' era holds a special time in my heart. Definitely gave me tough skin. Looking forward to this new era. Mendoza is just a walking light of hope. Zane up on the text line says, took my kids to the practice last night. Big shout out to whatever marketing genius decided to add swords alongside the foam fingers. We went from disinterested to happy little pigs in just like that.
Aww. Heartwarming.
Hot Sauce Raider. Hey, Sapienza. That's me. Can you kick this idea up the chain of command? Can the powers that be dim the lights in the lower bowl at Allegiant on game day? That way, we don't have to witness a takeover by opposing teams on TV. Just a thought, go Raiders. Is it bright down there? Or is he just talking about how it's seen on TV? So he's just saying, like, bring the lights down so it's almost...
So you're in a theater?
Like, theater or... like you're watching
like a Final Four
fight.
game?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't see how that's going to help.
Like UFC, where you don't necessarily see the crowd. It's just the octagon.
Right.
That's what I think Hot Sauce is trying to... Yeah, I'll throw it up there. I'll see what comes back.
So you're playing in the afternoon, though. There's so much natural light coming through the roof. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah,
coming through the roof.
I got to tell you.
You know my response to that. Just win, baby. That'll all get taken care of.
Well, speaking of that, one other thing I'm very excited to, and we'll dig more into it on game day, which is tomorrow. How fun is that to say?
Hey, now.
Yes, sir.
This kicking competition. It's been a tough go a little bit for the Tokyo Toe. Had one come up short from distance last night. I think it was like 58 yards, right, Clay? That was about what it was?
Came up way short.
Both he and Matt Gay missed from about 40 yards out. Matt Gay did close it out with a good field goal to end practice. But that kicking game, we might need to, speaking of dim the lights, we need to spotlight that a little bit more. Again, I want to see, under the lights. I want to see in a game what the kicking actually looks like, because it's tough to manufacture that in camp. So tomorrow's going to hopefully give us some more information to that. What a day. That just hit me. Goosebumps. Game days tomorrow. Love it. For Vinny Bonsignor, for Clay Baker, I'm Vince Sapienza. Make sure you stay with the flagship for the Silver and Black on Raider Nation Radio 920 all day today. JT the Brick from 12 to 2. Unnecessary Roughness with Q Myers from 2 to 5. Have a great day, everybody. We are back tomorrow